I got the idea to do this tutorial when I was online, and someone had asked me how I would solve this problem. Basically, what I want to do is I have a bicycle here, and this bicycle is on a path. Okay? And what I want to do is I want to simulate this flag flying off the back of this bicycle, or being, tied to the back of this bicycle. So what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to have two cloth sims. One is going to actually run the pole, and then the second one, or that would be the first one, the second one is going to run this flag right here. So because we're using cloth effects and not flex or anything like that, it's actually going to run pretty quickly. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create a point attached to this surface so that I can skin the cloth object to it. So let's go ahead and just create a point on that surface. It doesn't really matter where because it is a non-deforming mesh, so it could be anywhere. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and put it right here in the back of the seat. So what I want to do is I want to skin that object. I just realized I need to put some more faces in it. So let's go ahead and grab that plane, which is going to be my cloth object, and we're going to give it just one more face to have a little bit more to deform with. Actually, let's do about 4 so it can bend a little bit. So now I'm going to take that plane and I'm going to skin it to this point right here. Now the reason you want to do that is I'd mentioned earlier when hitting the reset state, if you have something linked to an object, I've just never really had it work the way I thought it would. But anytime I've had an object skinned to something, as soon as I hit reset state, it'll pop right into place. So I'd say use skin anytime you're trying to do something like this. In the case of a character, like a shirt or a jacket or something, you don't need to actually skin it like copy the modifier or anything. You just need to skin it to like the hips, because you want to start that character going in a default pose, in a figure pose, so that it can ramp up. So you want to skin it to just one object, just to have it move with the mesh, not with the character. Not so much deform with it, but move with it. Same idea goes here. So right now, if I drag this, you can see that the cloth object that I'm going to be using is moving with the bicycle. Okay. So the next step is to go ahead and I'm going to skin wrap this pole to this cloth object. So go ahead and skin wrap it to that. So now if I drag the slider, now the pole's moving with it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the pole real quick. And let's move in here. Now I need to create 2 points on this surface that I'm going to use as my bind points for the flag. So I'm going to go ahead and create 2 more points on this surface. One here and one here. So now what I'm going to do, and this is going to be a little bit more tricky, I want to skin this to these 2 objects. So let's go ahead and freeze everything else, and I'm going to go ahead and apply skin using these 2 objects. And I want to grab the bone itself and just pull it out like this and really give it a lot of room to grow. Doesn't necessarily need to be this big, but I'm just going a little bit overboard to make sure I've got everything covered. Okay. This way the flag is going to move with it, and these 2 points can move independently depending on how much the pole is flexing. So let's take a look at what we have now. We've got the pole. We've got the pole driver. And whoops. Okay. So there's our pole driver, and that is now driving the flag as well. So we've got everything set up the way we want. Now I can go ahead and start setting the sim up. So almost forgot one important thing. We need a gravity, and we're going to throw gravity in here. It's going to be a planar gravity, and I'm just going to go ahead and align it to this flagpole cloth object that I'm using, this driver. And I'm going to go ahead and have it point in the same direction as the pole. And I also want to link this to this point. That way the gravity is moving with the bike, and it's going to basically represent it trying to stay straight. So it's got some stiffness to it, yet it's going to have some secondary motion. By using cloth, it's going to go a lot faster. So let's go ahead and start setting up our sim. So we're going to grab this object right here, and we're going to go, and I'm going to throw a mesh select at the top of that stack to just basically close out the stack. And then I'm going to throw my cloth effects modifier. So go to object properties, say plane, just select the object, make it cloth. And again, I'm really not going to tweak with the settings too much right now. I think I will change the density to say 0.01. Turn edge brings on and say OK. Now I'm going to select this gravity as a cloth force, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a group here. So I'm going to select just these two bottom verts, like so. Make a group. We'll call it the pole pin, and we're going to preserve that group. I've mentioned this in the past, and preserve just means whatever's happening below cloth effects or cloth is going to continue to happen into the sim. So these 2 points aren't going to be simmed, but they are going to move as, you know, they're going to keep moving with the skin modifier, doing whatever is being told to those verts to do before cloth. The other verts, like these right here, which are not in a group and preserved, are going to be simmed and do whatever they'll be doing in the cloth modifier. So let's just go ahead and see how this looks real quick. We'll just run this sim. And you can see, obviously, I don't have the gravity up very high. So we'll just go ahead and cancel that and move it back. Now I want this to be pretty stiff, so I'm going to set the gravity to say, let's just set it to 10 and just see what happens. So I'll run the simulation again. Whoops. Erase the frames. And set the subsample to 4. You can turn off solid collision because there isn't going to be any. Then hit simulate. Again, not stiff enough for what I want to do. So let's go ahead and cancel that. Hit erase. And then we'll grab that gravity again. And let's make it 50. Just going to move this so it's easier to see. And then rerun the sim again. And there you go. You kind of have it stiff. As stiff as you kind of want it to be. Now you can see that the flag itself is moving with it, but it's not simmed yet. Once this sim is complete, we'll then go in and we'll set up a cloth sim on the flag itself. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pause, and when it's done, I'll come right back. And now the sim is complete. So let's take a look and see how it looks. So you can kind of see right here how it's moving. Let's see if we can get a better look at it this way. You can kind of see how it's jiggling. Right? So let's go back here, and now let's set up this simulation. So we're going to go ahead and put to mesh select as we did earlier, and then the cloth effects modifier. So we'll select that plane, make it a cloth object, and then I like to start with cotton. Just give it something to start with. Leave the I'm going to leave everything where it is. Turn on edge springs just so I want to direct. Or actually, yeah, turn it off. Say OK. So we'll go ahead and make a group by selecting just these two verts right here. And we're going to say preserve our pin flag pin. Make it a preserved group. And I'm going to leave the I'm going to set the gravity to -2000, which is my typical starting point. And I'm going to turn off solid collision. I can include the pole in the sim, but I'm not going to do that for right now. We'll do that in a second. So let's go ahead and turn the pole driver off. Let's just see the pole. We'll grab this, and I'm going to go ahead and hit simulate. This will take a little bit longer, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and as soon as it's complete, I'll come right back. And now the sim's complete. It took about, I think, 3 minutes to simulate the flag. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that looks. So you can see how quickly you can do a sim like this. And if you're proficient enough with MaxScript, it's very easy to write a script to simulate both of the sims individually. So basically you could have a script that could run the flag pole, and as soon as it's complete, run the flag itself. So if we take a look at this from the side view, you can really get an idea of how this is working. If you watch at the very end here, you can really see how the flag is getting jiggled. And I don't know if you can tell here, but by having the gravity at -2000, I just find cloth looks much more realistic as a starting point. But that's a personal preference, you know, and everybody will have their own preferences. That's just the way I prefer to work. Again, like I said earlier in a previous tutorial, it's not the numbers that count, it's how it looks. And everybody kind of gets lost in, you know, the numbers being correct. And you know what? I could care less if the numbers are correct. You know, if the numbers say that it's burlap, but if it looks like it's leather, then it's leather. You know, I don't care what the numbers mean. So just tweak with the settings until you get it to look exactly the way you want. As you can see here, you know, using these two simulations, you know, you can very quickly do this flagpole trick. I think the pole sim itself took about 1.5 minutes, probably less, and the flag itself took about 3 minutes. So for 100 frames, that's not bad. And considering I had the subsampling up to 4, which you could even drop it down lower, and I did have a fairly good number of faces here in this flag. So, I mean, you can get some very fast sims out of cloth effects that could be way quicker than any other way to do something like this. If you use Flex to do this, you know, for one thing, it would just dog your max viewport speed. Well, the last time I used it. But when you use cloth effects, it's very quick, very easy, very simple. So be open in trying to use cloth effects in areas you wouldn't think to. Like one of the other tutorials that we're going to go through is doing necklaces and chains, you know, like chain links. You know, it's amazing what you can do in a cloth sim that you can't do easily any other way. I was once asked how to do a chain sim using Reactor, and my first answer was, this was online, and my first answer was, well, why are you using Reactor? Why don't you just use a cloth sim? You know, just run a strip through the center. So the next tutorial will be probably doing a chain sim. And that is it for this tutorial. See you soon.